Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm at the shop Saturday morning here, just playing around, doing a few odds and ends. Just going to show you a little bit more about our shop, talk about a few things in there. I'm going to show you a little bit about the woods that we use to make all of our products in the back here. Yep, I don't know where I'm pointing at. Make all the products back here, some of the different woods that we use, and why we use some of these woods. And yeah, so I'll give you a little bit of tour. I'm gonna just randomly walk around just because I can. Um, if there's other things you would like us to talk about in the future, let us know. Put them in the comments. We can talk to you about the saw stop, our big clamp machine in the back. That's gonna be a fun one. I already have plans to tell you about that one. Our lasering and CNC router for engraving. Our wonderful Grizzly sander dual belt. Incredible machine. We'll talk about that. A couple things we have in progress. We've got some coasters over there. So engraving on the underside. Right now they're still wet, so I don't want to turn those over. These are our redesigned cribbage boards. Put the pegs under here, playing cards. We got room to engrave here, here, just like on this one. That's kind of the Three Sisters mountain range. And these are going to become some cribbage boards as well. We don't like making our cutting boards and butcher blocks where we have epoxy in them because you're going to be cutting on it. But for some other projects like these cribbage boards, we love doing some epoxy and filling those voids. Look at all that beautiful grain and how the grains change direction, give some personality, or what we call figure to the grain, as opposed to like this sapele wood is very straight. You don't get a lot of variation in the grain. We'll talk to you about that in the back here in a minute. But yeah, sometimes we'll use some of this epoxy to fill some of those voids and give the wood and the projects more dimension or artistic look to them. Just passed the cornhole set that Casey's building right now with some cherry, walnut, some purpleheart, some maple. Beautiful walnut that's going to pop once we finish that. I would love these cornhole sets. So today I'm going to talk about the woods that we use, why we use them, the thicknesses of the woods, a bunch of good stuff there. So we get our wood from Portland. We get it from, I'm actually going to switch. He's wearing a shirt from Hardenbrook Hardwoods up in Portland. As you imagine, is very humid, can be very wet. Central Oregon is very dry, very arid. So we bring it in from Portland. We let it sit here for a couple of weeks, acclimate, let the wood twist, expand, bow, shrink, just let it acclimate to the drier climate. That way the product, the end product doesn't change after we've built it. It doesn't twist and bow and cup and not sit flat. So let it sit here for a while. We start out here with black walnut. You can see all the change in the grain direction. You get a lot of that, what I call personality and figure that I mentioned before. This is sapele. So sapele comes from Africa. All these other woods that we use are domestic from the US, North America. So that's sapele. So the walnut, once it's finished, it's going to be very dark, a dark brown. The sapele, once it's oiled, is more of a, it's still brown, but it's got this beautiful, rich, goldish red tone to it. And it just looks absolutely amazing. But you don't see all the change in direction like in this walnut. It's very straight, it's very stable to work with. but not a lot of that figure. This is cherry. You can see, like, look at all that grain change, all that grain direction, all that figure. That cherry has quite a bit of it too. The cherry becomes kind of a pinkish tone. We got some plain clear walnut, or excuse me, not walnut, maple. That maple is very white. It's very dense. And then we also have some bird's eye maple. Can't really see a lot of the attributes of the bird's eye right now in this dark corner of the shop. We'll talk about the bird's eye another day. It's beautiful wood. This walnut right here, like all that, once it's oiled, is going to look so beautiful. Once it's milled, sanded, that's going to be an incredible piece of wood right there. Same with down here at the bottom of that board. Once it's all cleaned up and plain, we're going to get a lot of beautiful figuring out of that. I'm looking forward to whatever we make with that. So these woods over here are, so the way that the lumber yards and the mills classify the thickness of wood, they go by quarters. So these first four are 6/4, which is 1.5 inches. 1 inch has 4 quarters. So we have 6/4 wood starts out at 1.5 inches, 6/4. Once we finish milling it, gluing it, sanding it, it finishes out at 1.25 inches or 5/4. So we lose about 1/4 of an inch by the time we get the material till the time we finish it. Over here, these are 4/4, which is 1 inch, and these will finish out at 3/4. This is some 3/4 inch, or excuse me, 4/4 walnut that will finish out at 3/4 again. This is 5/4, so 1.25 inches, and it will finish out at 1 inch once it's done. So we tend to work with four or five different woods, 3 different thicknesses, unless we get into some custom pieces. This is the wood after we've milled it up and brought it to S4S, which is surfaced 4 sides. So when we get it, as you can see, it's pretty rough state right there. Same with over here. You might be able to see that roughness in the wood. So once we process it through the planers, the jointers, table saws, then it becomes S4S, surfaced 4 sides. So this is that sapele. Again, very straight grained. This is cherry. Cherry has some good figure to it. A lot of grain direction change. Some walnut. And again, some maple. So beautiful woods, and then we use a little bit of purpleheart. Purpleheart, actually, this one comes from I believe it's Central America, either Central or South America. We use it for accent pieces, some thin strips to accent some of the woods and some of the boards that we make. We don't use purpleheart for a piece that would be a solid purpleheart. We find that it tends to twist and bow long after we've processed it. So if it's just a thin strip, it's not going to change the board. It won't affect it as much. It's not going to change the board where it's not sitting flat. So we'll just use that as some accent pieces. It's naturally purple. Some people ask us, how do you stain it? Nope, it's naturally purple. There's some woods that are naturally red, yellow, kind of a green color. So it may look like some of these woods are stained, but they're not. This is a bunch of wood that's been processed to S4S. All this will go into some end grain butcher blocks. We'll be doing another video on end grain versus flat grain versus edge strip. This is a piece of walnut. So a lot of times where we get these voids, there may have been a branch there. And sometimes, like I mentioned, we'll fill those with epoxy, but we try and do that only if it's on the back side of a board. We don't want to put the epoxy on the top side, have you cut into it with a knife, chip out some of that epoxy, and then you're adjusting it. So we try to really, really minimize any epoxy on the top side of a board. And just some random bins where we store some of the wood. But yeah, that's kind of the products we use to make the products, or it's the wood we use to make the final products. And you can kind of see the different colors and hues. Once we put the mineral oil and wax, these quite often just look absolutely different than as they are now dry. They take on a whole new dimension. Cherry is one that it'll darken up over time as well. So if you have a cherry cutting board and you put something on top of it, covering up half of it, this is going to darken up, and what was covered up is going to stay lighter. So you'll see a light and a dark aspect of cherry. So I recommend just not leaving things on top of a cherry cutting board or any other cherry product. Just don't leave something on it for a long time. We'll go over here just real quick. These are some of the products that we have already built. These are walnut, from left to right, cheese, daily, veggie boards, different sizes, dimensions. These are cherry, sapele, and some maple. These are some of the serving boards with the mix of woods, and that's where we'll put in some of the Purple Heart strips. So that's Purple Heart, that's walnut, and then we got 1/8" strips of Purple Heart, maple, Purple Heart, and then it goes to cherry, and again, Purple Heart, maple, Purple Heart, and walnut. So we'll use Purple Heart just as some accents, like I mentioned. Same with in these boards up here. Purple Heart just gives it a little bit more, just a little bit different character. But yeah, just another little round from here at our shop. Just let us know any questions or comments you have about our shop, the woods, the products we make. And keep coming back. We appreciate you. Thanks.